He always left early for morning meetings. One day, I decided to follow. Instead of the office, he pulled into a hotel parking lot. My heart pounded as I watched her get out of a different car and walk straight into his arms. That evening, I set 2 wine glasses on the table and said, "I thought we could talk about your morning meetings." He relaxed, "Work's just been stressful." I smiled, "Oh, I know." She looked pretty stressed too. Then I showed him the pictures. His face drained of color, and that's when he knew it was over. I'm not the type to put my business on the internet, but this has been sitting heavy on my chest. I haven't told many people. I've been pretending I'm fine, but I'm not fine. And I think someone out there might need to read this, the same way I needed to read stories like it when I was losing my mind. I'm a 38-year-old woman, married for 11 years. We live in Raleigh, North Carolina. 1 kid, 9 years old. I thought my husband, Ryan, not his real name, was a loyal, quiet guy. A little boring sometimes, but solid. He's in software. His job's stable. He used to be the type of guy who double-checked the locks at night and made sure we had groceries before storms. We met through mutual friends. Got married 3 years after dating. Nothing dramatic. We were just 2 people who made sense together. Or so I thought. Things changed about a year ago. It started small. He started waking up earlier. A lot earlier. Like 6 a.m., out the door by 6:30. Said he had early stand-up meetings. Said the new project manager liked starting the day ahead of the curve. "It's a startup thing," he said. At first, I didn't question it. I work part-time from home and handle most of the morning routine with our daughter, so I just adjusted. But after a few weeks, I started to notice things. He started putting on cologne before leaving. The kind he never used to wear. The one in the dark glass bottle that he said was too strong before. He started dressing a little better too. Nicer button-downs. Cleaner shoes. Shaved more often. I asked once, casually, new dress code or something? He said, "Just trying to look more professional." There's been talk of promotions. I didn't think much of it. Then I noticed he was always freshly showered when he got home. Not sweaty from the gym. Not tired like someone who worked a full day. Just clean. Polished. Like he'd hit a reset button before walking through the door. And the intimacy changed. He barely touched me. When he did, it felt rushed or empty. Sometimes he'd pull away like I was an obligation. Like kissing me was a thing he had to check off. Still, I tried to justify it. Maybe he was stressed. Maybe he was going through something and didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I sat with the weird feeling in my stomach for months. I even started making more of an effort, dressing up a little more, planning date nights, offering to meet him for lunch downtown. He always had a reason not to. We're swamped. I have a working lunch. Don't want to waste time in traffic. Then one day, I woke up and something in me just switched. It was a Tuesday. Rainy, cold. I had taken the day off to get my car inspected and decided to, coincidentally, leave home a little after Ryan. I wanted to see where he really went. Not in a crazy way. I just wanted peace of mind. He left like normal, quick kiss on the cheek, half a smile, out the door at 6:25 a.m. I waited about 10 minutes and followed. Kept a couple of cars between us. I had already turned off my phone's GPS tracking for Life 360 the night before, just in case. He didn't take the usual route to downtown. Instead, he turned off the freeway and drove into a commercial area near Cary. I thought maybe he was picking up coffee or stopping at a coworker's place. But he pulled into a hotel parking lot. Not a conference center. Not an office building. A damn hotel. Extended Stay America. Walnut Street. Middle of the week. No suitcases. No laptop bag. He stayed in the car. 5 minutes later, another car pulled in, a small red SUV. A woman stepped out. Blonde hair tied back. Scrubs. Probably late 20s. She didn't look around much. Walked straight to his car like she'd done it before. He stepped out. They hugged. And then he kissed her. Not a quick, high kiss. A full, slow, both hands on her face kiss. Like a movie. Like useless words weren't needed. I sat in my car across the lot, hands shaking. I remember my stomach started hurting. Like, really hurting. I couldn't breathe right. But I took photos. I don't even remember aiming. My phone was just clicking. They walked inside. Same keycard. Same routine. He was cheating. And not just a one-night thing. This was routine. Practiced. Familiar. Like they had done it so many times, it wasn't even exciting anymore. It was normal for them. I drove home. Windows down in the rain. I didn't care. I needed air. I couldn't feel my legs. I had to pull over twice to stop myself from throwing up. When he got home that night, he was extra chatty. Told me about a bad bug in the back end, and how the team had to push some fixes live early. I watched him talk and wondered how long he'd been lying. I asked him to sit down for wine. He looked surprised but didn't resist. I poured 2 glasses and said, I thought we could talk about your morning meetings. He blinked. Huh? You know, the ones that happen in hotel rooms? Silence. He didn't speak. Didn't even twitch. Just stared at me like I had ripped the words out of his lungs. I placed my phone on the table. Screen up. The photo of him and her, mouth on mouth, burned right through the pixels. He finally said, You followed me? That was it. That was his concern. Not the betrayal. Not the affair. Not the damage. Just the fact that I caught him. That's when I knew I wasn't crazy. That I wasn't imagining the distance. That I hadn't lost my mind. He just wanted me to believe I did. I said, You need to leave. He didn't argue. Didn't beg. Didn't explain. Just packed a bag the next day and stayed with a friend. Or maybe with her. I didn't care. I haven't told our daughter yet. She just knows Daddy doesn't live here for now. She still asks to FaceTime him. I let her. But when she's asleep, I sit in the kitchen and go through the messages I found after he left. Yeah, I checked everything. He used a second Gmail account. Had hundreds of deleted texts that I recovered through our phone provider. He'd been seeing her for over a year. She worked at a local clinic and they met at the gym next to that hotel. He used to say he was cooling off before work. They had a whole morning routine. She even had a nickname for him. I won't say it here because I'll throw my laptop across the room. It was disgusting. What kills me the most is how easy it was for him. To lie. To smile at me. To hug our daughter in the morning, then go touch someone else like we didn't exist. I still don't know how long it'll take to stop feeling sick. Some days I want to scream in his face. Other days, I want to forget he ever existed. But every time I try to pretend it didn't happen, I see that photo in my head, her face in his hands, in a parking lot, before 7 a.m. And I can't unsee it. I haven't filed yet. I'm still in that fog where everything feels fake. I told 2 close friends. One cried harder than I did. The other said, You're stronger than you think. Maybe, maybe not. But I know this much, I'm done pretending. I'm done being understanding for the sake of peace. And I'm definitely done with early morning meetings. I didn't cry at first. Not right after he left. I thought I would. But I didn't. Instead, I cleaned the whole house. Not like a mop the floors kind of clean. I mean, I scrubbed behind the stove. I dumped out drawers. I threw out every shirt of his that smelled like that cologne. I didn't even think. My hands just moved. Like if I kept cleaning, maybe I could clean the memory of what I saw out of my head. But it didn't work. Every time I blinked, I saw that hotel parking lot. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his hands on her face. Every time I picked up my daughter from school, I remembered how he'd kiss her goodbye in the morning and then go cheat before breakfast. A week passed. Then 2. He texted every day. Can we talk? I made a mistake. It's not as bad as you think. I didn't respond. I couldn't. What do you even say to someone who ripped your reality in half? Then one night, I was folding laundry on the couch when I got a call. Not from him. From a blocked number. I don't usually answer those. But I did. Is this Ryan's wife? A woman's voice asked. She sounded nervous. Really nervous. Yes, I said. My voice cracked. I think we need to talk, she said. It was Sasha. The woman from the parking lot. The woman in the scrubs. I didn't know what to say. I just sat there. She started talking fast, like she had rehearsed it. I didn't know about you. I swear. Not until 2 months ago. He told me you were separated. That you were bitter. That he was staying for the kid. I didn't say anything. Just listened. I thought he was going through a divorce, she continued. He said you knew about me. That you were just being difficult. Dragging it out. I believed him. God, I'm so stupid. I felt my stomach twist. I had hated her. Cursed her. Imagined slashing her tires. But now she sounded just like me, tired, embarrassed, broken. Why are you calling me now? I asked. She went quiet for a second. Then said something that made my jaw clench. I think I'm pregnant. My heart stopped. Completely stopped. Wait, what? I finally got out. I haven't told him yet, she said. I don't even know if I want to. I thought you deserved to know. I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. She didn't know whether she'd keep it. She didn't know if it was even his. She'd started seeing someone else recently, trying to move on, thinking Ryan was still tangled in his fake divorce. But she was scared. And she was calling me. I told her, you need to figure out what you're going to do. But don't involve me in your mess again. I have enough of my own. And then I hung up. The next morning, Ryan was on my doorstep. I hadn't seen him since the day I showed him the pictures. He looked awful. Like he hadn't slept in days. Dark circles. Wrinkled shirt. Hair messy like he'd stopped caring. I need to talk, he said. No, I don't, I replied. But I didn't close the door. He said he missed our daughter. That he wanted to work on things. That it was a mistake. That Sasha meant nothing. I wanted to punch him in the face. I wanted to scream. Instead, I said, Sasha called me. He went still. His whole body locked up. She thinks she's pregnant, I said. His face turned to stone. No, he said. She told me she was on the pill. She said I didn't care. You lied to me. You lied to her. You lied to everyone. Then I asked the one question I hadn't asked until that moment. How many others? He looked down at his shoes. Didn't answer. How many others? He whispered 2. Maybe 3. Before her. It felt like a punch to the throat. I thought Sasha was the only one. I thought this was some tragic one-woman affair. It wasn't. It was a pattern. A lifestyle. He said he didn't know why he did it. He said he loved me but got bored. That he missed feeling wanted. That life felt predictable. I almost laughed. You had a wife. A child. A house. A life. And you chose a hotel parking lot. Then I finally slammed the door. He stood out there for a while. I didn't look. I just sat on the floor behind the door and cried for the first time. I cried hard. Loud. Ugly. The kind of cry where you don't care if the neighbors hear. The kind where your whole body shakes. Later that week, I found out from one of his old coworkers, who I randomly ran into at the grocery store, that everyone at work knew. About Sasha. About others before her. That Ryan wasn't exactly discreet. I had been the only one in the dark. He was the office punchline. People called him HR's nightmare. They said he had a habit of flirting with temps, taking gym breaks that lasted too long, always smelling like cologne, but looking too relaxed for someone coming back from the gym. My marriage had been a joke. And I didn't even know it. Now I'm left in the rubble. Everyone else has already moved on. But I'm still here, in the middle of the explosion. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I haven't told our daughter anything except that Daddy made a mistake and we're figuring things out. She asks me why I cry in the laundry room. I tell her I have allergies. She's smarter than that. I keep waiting to wake up and realize this was all a nightmare. But every morning, I see the empty side of the bed. And I remember. This is real. Every part of it. And it's not over yet. About 2 weeks after the last time I saw Ryan, things got quiet. Too quiet. He stopped texting. No more, I miss you. No more, can we talk? Not even a check-in about our daughter. It felt strange, like someone cutting off oxygen slowly. You'd think I'd be happy. You'd think silence would feel like peace. But it didn't. It felt like something was coming. And it was. One afternoon, I got a letter. Not an email. Not a text. An actual letter delivered to my house. No return address, no name. Just typed out in bold black ink. You don't know the half of it. Look deeper. Check his work laptop. That was it. No signature. No clue who sent it. At first, I thought maybe Sasha sent it. Maybe she found something worse. Maybe she was trying to warn me. Or maybe it was just someone playing games. But the thing is, I never thought to check his work laptop. He always brought it home. Always said he needed to VPN in after dinner. But when he left, he didn't take it. Said it was just a backup, and he'd use his personal laptop now that he was crashing at a friend's. It was in the closet, under a stack of sweaters. I hadn't touched it. So that night, after I put my daughter to bed, I booted it up. I didn't have his password, but I knew the name of his high school mascot. Tried that with his birth year at the end. It worked. The laptop opened. And it was worse than anything I could have imagined. There were folders. Not one. Not two. Multiple. Some named things like consulting docs or project leads, all normal sounding. But inside? Nothing normal. Photos. Videos. Screenshots of chats. Dozens of them. All women. Some clearly didn't know they were being recorded. Some had their faces in frame. Others didn't. But the worst part? Dates and timestamps showed it had been going on for years. Some of the files dated back 5 years. Even before our daughter started kindergarten. He had hidden this double life so well, it was like he had practiced. There were emails too. Burner accounts. Fake names. Payments to hotels. Gift cards. One receipt for lingerie. Not in my size. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking. I backed everything up to a flash drive. And I called a lawyer. Because this wasn't just cheating anymore. This was something illegal. I couldn't sleep that night. I couldn't sit still. I stayed up until 4 a.m. just pacing my kitchen floor, staring at the walls, asking myself how long I had been married to a stranger. I called Sasha the next day. She sounded exhausted. She said she hadn't told him about the pregnancy yet, and she wasn't even sure it was his. I asked if she knew about the videos. The screenshots. The recordings. She said no. I sent her one, a still frame of her in a hotel room with Ryan, fully clothed, but clearly unaware she was on camera. Her silence on the phone said everything. I gave her my lawyer's info. She cried. Then hung up. That same week, my lawyer found out something else. Ryan had signed up for multiple gym memberships under different names. One in Apex, one in Durham. All tied to fake Gmail accounts. And each one had a female staff member on the directory who was either very young or very new. He was targeting people. Girls who wouldn't question a friendly guy in his 30s with job connections. Suddenly, I saw everything differently. The cologne. The gym clothes. The extra cash withdrawals. The fake work events. The power naps after dinner. He wasn't just cheating on me, he was building a whole system of lies, one girl at a time. And here's where the twist gets even worse. 2 days ago, I got a message on Facebook from a girl named Haley. She said she found me through a tagged photo on my daughter's birthday post from last year. She's 23. Met Ryan at the gym. Said he told her he was divorced with full custody and that his ex, that's me, was mentally unstable and had abandoned their child. She believed him. Until she saw my Facebook. Saw me in pictures with our daughter. Saw birthday cakes and school events and smiling selfies with her supposed deadbeat mom. She felt sick. I did too. But Haley told me something I didn't expect. She said he mentioned me a lot. Not like he missed me, but like I was the villain. That I was manipulative, controlling, emotionally abusive. That I used our daughter to punish him. He was rewriting history, telling these women that I was the monster. And they believed him, until they didn't. So now there's a growing list of women. Some just cheated with him. Others were manipulated. And some may have been recorded without consent. It's not just a breakup anymore. It's something darker. I'm not writing this for sympathy. I'm writing this because I was so sure it was just an affair. A weak moment. A temporary betrayal. But what I'm starting to realize is, he was never who I thought he was. I thought I knew him. But maybe I never did. There's still more to find. I'm still digging. And I'm starting to wonder what else I missed, or what else he's still hiding. This isn't over. And something tells me it's going to get uglier before it gets better. I didn't plan the confrontation. I thought about it 100 different ways. At night, lying awake. In the car, staring at red lights. Sometimes I imagined screaming at him in front of his friends. Sometimes I thought about just disappearing, moving states, never giving him a chance to explain. But in the end, it happened in a Target. Because of course it did. It was a Saturday afternoon. I was getting laundry detergent and snacks for movie night. My daughter was with my mom for the weekend. I turned the corner in the pharmacy aisle and there they were. Ryan and Sasha. Together. He was pushing a cart. She had one hand on her stomach. And yes, she was visibly pregnant. She froze. So did he. Time stopped. We just stood there in the aisle, in the shadow of allergy meds and cold medicine, staring at each other like characters in a bad soap opera. Nobody spoke. Until I did. I looked right at her and said, "Guess you did tell him." She looked down. Ryan said, "It's not what you think." No, I cut him off. You don't get to say that anymore. A woman pushing a stroller paused next to us. She knew. You could tell she knew something was going down. She lingered like people do when they see a car crash, but can't look away. "I told you to leave us alone," I said, voice low but shaking. "But you couldn't. You had to come crawling back into my life with more lies. You dragged her into this." I gestured at Sasha, "and now you're dragging a child into it too." Sasha finally spoke. "He told me you were unstable. That you'd hit him. That you tried to keep his daughter away from him." I laughed. Actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because of how sick it all was. "Did he also tell you he recorded you without your consent?" I asked. Her face went pale. She looked at him, instantly, like her body knew what to do before her brain caught up. "What is she talking about?" she asked him. He said nothing. Just looked at the floor. "You recorded me?" she said again, louder. People started turning their heads. A Target employee with a red vest took a few steps toward us like he was unsure if he needed to intervene. "Answer her," I said. "I didn't mean to," Ryan started, but Sasha cut him off. "You didn't mean to," she snapped. "You had a camera in the hotel room?" A couple nearby pretended to look at toothpaste, but clearly didn't need any. Sasha's voice cracked. "You told me you loved me." That's when she slapped him. It wasn't loud. It wasn't movie dramatic. But the sound cut through the aisle like a whip. Ryan flinched back. People stared. He stood there, red-faced, stunned. She walked out. Just left her cart and walked straight out of Target, one hand still over her stomach. He didn't chase her. He just looked at me, silent. And I said the one thing I'd been saving. "You'll never see our daughter again without a court order." Then I left too. That night, he tried to call me 17 times. I didn't answer. He left voicemail sobbing, rambling about how he messed everything up, how he didn't mean to hurt anyone, how he just needed to feel something again. I saved the voicemails. For court. The next few weeks were chaos. Sasha pressed charges. She found out he'd recorded not just her, but at least 2 other women without consent. One of them was barely 19. There's an open investigation now. His company fired him after HR got the report. Turns out, there were already complaints from female interns that the company ignored. The lawyer I'd hired helped me file a protective custody agreement. I got sole legal custody. He can't see our daughter without court permission and a full psych evaluation. Sasha moved in with her sister. She's keeping the baby. She and I talk sometimes now. We're not friends, but we understand each other in a way no one else can. We both believed a man who hollowed us out and wore our trust like a costume. People started asking questions. Neighbors, family. Some gave me that look, the "how could you not know" look. Others told me I was brave. I didn't feel brave. I felt like I was crawling through broken glass barefoot, just trying to reach the other side. I cried. A lot. Not just from sadness, from rage. From humiliation. From grief over the life I thought I had, over the man I used to trust. Our daughter asked one night, "Why does Daddy not come around anymore?" I took a deep breath and said, "Because Daddy made some really bad choices. And it's my job to protect you." She nodded. Said nothing. Kids know more than we think. It's been 4 months now. The house feels lighter. Quieter. Not just because he's gone, but because the lie is gone. I don't feel the need to check phone records or sniff clothes or analyze every running late text. I don't feel crazy anymore. Some mornings I wake up sad. Lonely. Wondering how I'll ever trust someone again. Other mornings, I drink my coffee in peace, grateful that I can. I'm in therapy. So is my daughter. We're healing. Slowly. Sasha's baby is due in a few weeks. She's picked out a name. Says she doesn't want Ryan on the birth certificate. She's strong. Stronger than me, in some ways. As for Ryan, he's nowhere now. Jobless. Friendless. No woman left to lie to. Just a man alone with his consequences. Do I feel sorry for him? No. Do I wish things had been different? Of course. I wish I had seen the signs earlier. I wish I hadn't spent years building a life with a man who had already burned it to the ground behind my back. But I don't regret leaving. I don't regret choosing myself. I don't know what's next for me. I'm not ready to date. I'm not even ready to look at someone without wondering what lies behind their smile. But I'm learning. I'm growing. And I'm finally breathing again. So if you're reading this and your gut is telling you something's off, believe it. It might just save your life. It did mine.